The Stars and Stripes show is brought to you by the U.S. Embassy.
Well, it's Gabs FM Power to Engage Your World. And of course, welcome to the Stars and Stripes show, proudly brought to you by the U.S. Embassy in partnership with Gabs FM and of course, America in Botswana. Let's talk cultural exchange and why it matters. Have we ever taken the time to think about simple cultural exchange? Simple exchanges can break down walls between us, for when people come together and speak to one another and share a common experience, then their common humanity is revealed. That is a quote by President Barack Obama. And of course, today, that is why. You know King Swifty Swift. I'm a big fan of hip-hop, and hip-hop was birthed in the U.S. and has transitioned around the world from Motswako to Japanese rap, and that's what today is going to be about. We're going to be talking about cultural exchange from a different light. But before I continue, allow me to introduce Janet Deutsch, Deputy Director of Public Diplomacy and Public Affairs of the African region. How are you, Janet? And of course, welcome to the Stars and Stripes radio show.
Thank you, King Swifty. It is great to be here. I'm really excited. And yes, I'm here representing the U.S. government, Department of State, our Africa Bureau, cover public diplomacy for all of Africa.
Wow.
It's an exciting time.
That's a huge portfolio, isn't it?
Yeah, but here I am in Gaborone to celebrate with you. That's how lucky we are.
Absolutely. Well, first and foremost, happy International Women's Month. Thank you so much for what you're doing in society. I always say, I have a slight problem with this because I don't really see gender. I was raised by powerful women, and I always say, we've just got to call an ace an ace. Call a spade an ace. Call a spade an ace, don't worry. But anyway, moving swiftly along, pun intended. Look, let's get straight into it. Define public diplomacy in the synopsis. What do you do? What does it mean? What is the mandate to Africa? What does it mean for Botswana?
Public diplomacy is really exciting. It's about people-to-people connections. Okay. So, it's an exciting time for people-to-people relations and between the United States and Africa. We had a new strategy for U.S. Africa launched in August. Secretary Tony Blinken came out to the African continent in August to launch the new strategy. Public diplomacy is part of that, as far as expanding our people-to-people connections, just like we're doing today. This is a great chance for us to strengthen our relations between Americans and people of Botswana. Yeah, and then after that strategy was launched, we had the U.S. Africa Leaders Summit in December. His Excellency President Masisi came with the Botswana delegation.
Yes.
I saw him there. It was exciting. It was impressive. He gave that great USIP.
He did a phenomenal speech, right?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
This is people to people, right?
Absolutely.
This is us connecting with each other. The people of Botswana connecting with the people of the United States. So super exciting. His Excellency President Masisi was also at the state dinner that President Biden hosted at the White House. Just really great. It's a super exciting time in U.S. public diplomacy and U.S. Africa relations. Yeah.
Absolutely. Look, obviously we need to touch on the U.S. foreign policy and its interests in Africa. I mean, from an African standpoint, that is very, very important to the citizenry, to understand what direction the U.S. government would like to take. Please state how the U.S. public diplomacy has been effective in advancing that particular component of the U.S. foreign policy.
Yeah, well, I think, public diplomacy being about these people-to-people relations. Yep. I've served in many countries around Africa.
Nice.
I've worked with teams like we have here in Botswana.
Nice.
In different places around the continent, and I've just seen how these people-to-people connections make a difference for actual people on the ground. We go out to rural areas. We come to influential youth in the cities like yourselves here at Gabs FM. It's just really exciting. And then Americans learn from people on the continent as well. So it's just we have, like you mentioned in the beginning that with that quote, the cultural exchange impacts lives.
Absolutely.
Changes lives. It inspires people.
Absolutely.
To create the create the community they want, to create the future they want. So that's an important part about this U.S.-Africa dialogue. We partner with countries like Botswana in Africa. So, we have like the U.S.-Africa Business Summit coming up in Botswana in July. Right?
Absolutely.
So, there's lots more to come, but I feel like over the years, we've had the Young African Leaders program and the fellowships exchange programs. We have special American musicians and artists that sometimes visit. I think you're going to talk more about that in just a few minutes, but so, during that U.S. Africa Leaders Summit, that week, on that Monday, December 12th, President Biden put a memo out to cabinet members encouraging our cabinet members to visit the continent of Africa in 2023. So you probably saw that Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen already made her visit.
Yes.
There are other VVIP visits coming. A lot of them we can't yet announce, but they're coming. So more to come. Like I said, July, we have the U.S. Africa Business Summit. We have U.S. businesses will be a part of that. U.S. officials will be part of that. So, anyway, I think that the people-to-people connections that we've made together have just been so important, both for the people of the United States, I think people across Africa, and I really hope the people of Botswana as well.
Absolutely. Well, if you've just joined us, welcome to the Stars and Stripes radio show, proudly brought to you by the U.S. Embassy in partnership with Gabs FM. And of course, we're looking at public diplomacy from a different light, from a cultural exchange point of view. And, culture is a big component of people's lives.
Yes.
No matter, and that's one thing that I love about the U.S. government and the United States is the diversity in culture. I do know that a lot of diplomats, when they touch ground, one of the most important components is learning our culture as Botswana. So I've got to applaud you for that. Look, Africa, whether we like it or not, there's a global shift. There's a lot happening in the geopolitical space. Africa is a huge player. I mean, we are, in my personal opinion, we're the future of the world.
Sure.
And of course, it's important for us to understand the global priorities. Why does the U.S. consider Africa critical to global priorities? What role do you foresee? And how are you ensuring that, Africa benefits? I know there's the African Continental Free Trade Area Agreement. There's issues such as climate change, but we have the youngest population in the world. We are definitely the future of the world. Talk to us.
Yeah, well, I would say I try not to speak on behalf of our Secretary of State, but I'm going to go ahead and do it in this case because you've just essentially said the same words as Secretary Blinken, who talks about Africa being the future.
Absolutely.
And so we agree with you. And if those of us who have worked on U.S.-Africa relations for a long time, we know how important these relations are, and we're glad that a lot of other folks around the world are catching up with what the United States has always known, that this country is about its youth population.
Absolutely.
Has such a bright future. There's so many innovations here across the continent that we've seen, so many inspiring emerging young leaders. Anyway, it's just a really exciting time.
And did you know that Africa has the most, globally, the most women entrepreneurs in the world?
Having lived here for almost 20 years, I believe it. You see it all the time. They're so strong and entrepreneurial.
Absolutely.
Awesome. Yeah.
Look, let's talk about the big investments. You did touch, whether we like it or not, Africa is definitely the future. I mean, even if we're to talk about the electrical vehicle revolution, precious metals, our resources, and that is one thing that I'm proud of the African, because we are conscious of what we have.
Yes.
And you can tell between our engagement with the U.S. government and with different governments around the world. I mean, we are pushing to say, what's in it for us. And that's what I love about this new relationship between the U.S. government and Africa. Look, let's talk about some of the investments in Botswana, especially in Botswana in general, and in, the global health support. I mean, health is a huge issue around the world. We just come out of a pandemic. We know the issues. We need to learn from some of the issues that came up during the pandemic. Just walk us through that and, the U.S. government's role in that component.
Yeah. So I am not a Botswana expert, So, King Swifty, I want to ask you.
Yes.
Have you seen changes, for example, on the HIV/AIDS front? So tell me about 15 years ago, 20 years ago in Botswana with the HIV/AIDS situation compared to now.
Look, I must applaud the U.S. government, but even bigger applause to the BW government. I mean, I grew up when HIV/AIDS was stigma. And I must applaud the integrated strategy that was adopted, from music to, education to marketing across the board. We did such a phenomenal job. And let me tell you something. That is what I think shows the power of culture, because the University of Botswana was built through a system called Motole Motokom. It was each person must bring a cow, right, in order to build our university. And that's actually the story. And, when you touch on HIV and AIDS, I think the power of collaboration between the U.S. government and the BW government is phenomenal. So I couldn't agree with you more.
Yeah. And what I do know also, while I wasn't in Botswana 15 years ago, is that the situation was pretty dire, is my understanding.
Yes.
And we are now 20 years later, millions of dollars, billions of dollars continent-wide
100%.
later, in our HIV/AIDS fight. And we're actually millions of lives saved. How many more Botswanans are alive today and healthy today and able to take care of their families?
Absolutely.
Go to work every day, put food on their families' tables because of the partnership that the United States and Botswana have had in fighting HIV/AIDS.
Absolutely.
That's what I know. And that's the kind of health partnership that we're proud of. We saw the same in fighting COVID-19. There are other disease instances around the continent. I've seen it in other countries on Ebola. Now Marburg is raising its ugly head again. The partnerships we have to fight those. So, we're nothing but proud of the United States and what the collaboration we've been able to have in places like Botswana to actually save lives. Like, there are more people walking around this country healthy because of our work together and the United States presence here than there would be if that wasn't the case.
Well, that's the power of collaborations. That's the power of cultural exchanges. That's the power of learning from one another, know. And absolutely. Look, have you had saswa yet?
Not yet.
Okay, you got to have saswa. It's pounded beef.
Yeah.
And we don't claim to be organic. We are organic, okay?
Yeah.
Yeah, we are organic. A lot of our food is
You don't even have to say it.
Don't worry. We don't do GMOs out here. So please taste our food. I hope you have a great time.
Thank you.
And we have a beautiful country. I hope you have a great time in Botswana. And of course, we will engage further. Let me give you this opportunity to share your parting statement.
My parting statement is I'm excited to be here today. I have lovely American artist colleagues in the room with us today.
Yes.
And it's just thrilling and also inspiring. And I couldn't be prouder of American culture and other strong women taking time out of their normal lives, I guess, so to speak, to do programs like this and to help us build those cultural ties. So I'm excited. Mood.
Absolutely. Look, there's always been this argument in the hip hop circles that who rhymes better? Is it women? Is it men? There's always been this argument. But let me tell you,
having that conversation.
Let me tell you this: we've got a band in the building. They're called Rhyme Like a Girl, and definitely on the other side of this, we're going to be talking hip hop. We're going to be talking hip hop for social change. They are in Botswana. They're coming out of the US, and either way, they're representing a great cause. Look out for it. Do not change that dial. Your time is 11:27 across the nation, and officially welcome to the Stars and Stripes radio show. Good morning.
Power to engage your world. is on 90.8.
It's Gabs FM Power to Engage Your World, #1, and of course many others on this number. Cageism, Kulichana, Momolimi, Tori Mac. What you know about that? Ladies and gentlemen, kings and queens, welcome to the Stars and Stripes radio show, proudly brought to you by the U.S. Embassy in partnership with Gabs FM. Now listen up, I've got some very, very special guests in the building, and if you are out in the Maung or the Delta area, you may already have heard them, but we've got a band titled Rhyme Like a Girl, all the way from the US in our studio in BW, in the capital city. And, you know, I've got to introduce these lovely ladies. And, of course, they're titled, actually, their name of the band is Rhyme Like a Girl. It includes members Tony Blackman, right? Sincerity, Polaris, and DJ Liquid. Ladies, welcome to the show. How are you?
We're good. Thank you for having us.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. Look, let's just get straight into it. Rhyme Like a Girl. Why that name?
Rhyme like a girl. Mm-hmm. You know how they say fight like a girl?
Yeah.
Run like a girl?
Yeah.
And you know what happens when they say that?
Yes.
The girls run and beat everybody else.
I like that.
So we decided to be Rhyme Like a Girl and to become dope MCs.
Nice.
So it's a collective. It's less of a band and more of a collective.
Yeah.
So there are more members than what you see here.
Yes.
Right?
Yes,
and
yes.
we build together. And my main mission was to make sure that each MC masters the art of freestyling, performance, public speaking, and being able to facilitate a hip-hop workshop to honor the voices of girls and women, but also just to uplift the culture.
But let me ask you this, Tony Blackman, and I will go back to a few questions. Being a people of color,
yes.
Being a woman,
yes.
And you know the challenges just from those two components. What does Rhyme Like a Girl mean to the rest of the world? What does it mean to the girls from your hood and the girls around the world? You know, I really want to capture the essence of that, because look, I mean, hip hop is a competitive culture. Economics, whether you like it or not, making a dollar is a competitive culture. And being people of color and being women. You know, let's touch on that.
Well, Rhyme Like a Girl, we did Uganda, and we did Benin, as a collective.
Wow.
I've been doing this work as a cultural diplomat since the year of 2001. Nice. South Africa, Swaziland, the Congo, Cote d'Ivoire, Botswana. I did the Get Up and Go tour with Zeus, Cass, and Chubb, and all these other Apollo. We did that. Tony, so I've been around. And so we come into contact with girls and young ladies every single time we show up. And you should have seen when they hear Polaris spit, their mouths drop open to the floor because they just can't believe it.
Polaris, you got to drop something for me.
Humbly, I will.
No, you got to do the right thing. Let's do the right thing.
She said, "Do the right thing."
Yeah,
right now.
Yeah,
let's do it. So, where we at? Who you gonna be? We on the stage with Gabs TV. We in the studio, check 1, 2, 3. On the microphone with these 4 ladies, all to the LAG. That's who we be. Rhyme like a girl in this industry with the cameras. And I see you with the stamina. And we standing up and you clapping. Yes, we make it happen. Matter of fact, from New York, Manhattan, boogie down Bronx, all the way to Botswana. We gon' freestyle. We gon' give you what we wanna. And then we gon' clap for the people in the back, let them know where we at, and we do it like that.
Like that.
From New York. From New York to Gab City, what you know about that? If you've just joined us, I am sitting with the group Rhyme Like a Girl. And of course, we're talking hip hop, we're talking diversity, we're talking public diplomacy, and above all, cultural exchange. Let's bring you into the conversation. Look, we heard you guys celebrated International Women's Day on the outskirts of the Okavango Delta. How was the Delta? What was your experience like? And of course, tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah. Oh, so the experience out by the Delta was amazing. I mean, first of all, I want to commend also the embassy staff, everybody that we've been with the entire time. Nice. I also love the fact that the crew, not only the collective, but also the crew has been a powerful group of women, everybody doing their thing in their respective trades. But yeah, the time out there that we got to spend with the young people, I wanted to kind of piggyback on something that Tony said earlier about the collective itself and how we exist and show up globally. I think with International Women's Day, we we get to celebrate women worldwide.
Yeah, absolutely.
And coming from America, yes, as a black woman, like I grew up with the same experience. You have to work twice as hard to get half. I'm gonna say that again.
Yeah.
You have to work twice as hard to get half. You have to have the degrees. You have to be able to be able to not only speak and say what you mean, but also do so in a way that doesn't offend certain people, because it's threatening. And if you want to be able to be assertive, but also not be a stereotype or what they feel like a woman's place should be. So the collective Rhyme Like a Girl, when we go out to different places, and this is my first time going out with them, but I've done workshops with Tony back in the States, and each time it speaks to not only amplification, but empowerment, but voice, right? So seeing those young people come together when they do these cypher sessions, and seeing someone who starts out very timid, right? And then all of a sudden she feels like, oh, I can do this because I watched Polaris rap. I watched Tony rap. I saw Sincerity do her thing. And that starts, of course, on stage or in these workshops, but then it translates into school, right? It translates into not being afraid to raise my hand if I know the answer when I otherwise might have felt intimidated. And, you know, hip hop is a vehicle. It's a vehicle, right?
I like that.
And it's music is the language of all people. And so it's something that, yes, you're able to have break dancers in Japan. You're able to have, like, you know, freestylers here in Botswana. You're able to have various graffiti writers, right? I'm losing the elements.
In Brazil.
In Brazil.
You got beatboxers in LA.
Yeah, there you go.
Yes,
So it's able to, as my coach said, and Polaris used this quote yesterday, it's putting the medicine inside the applesauce, right?
Ooh,
it's a way that you're able to get all of those things that we're talking about: empowerment, amplification, representation, right? But putting it in a fun way, which I loved how you also explained that, putting it in a fun way that they don't recognize because it's coming in a sweet form. It's coming in something that you like.
They don't realize they're learning. Even MCs, you take street dudes off the street, hardcore. You put them in a structured cipher, the Freestyle Union Cipher Workshop, my methodology. What it does, it forces you to center on your own creativity, to look in the mirror. We have a ground rule: no battling. You battle yourself because you are your own worst enemy. So you are only focused on self. When you're focused on self, that's where growth happens.
Let me ask you this. I think storytelling is a big component of life, you know, whether from a branding, packaging. And, you know, one thing that I've realized is articulation is so important. Whether you're articulating in the boardroom, whether from a policy level, from a hip hop level, how important is articulation or the craft of articulation with what you guys do?
It is the pinnacle of what we do, because as international travelers and as international artists, our audience doesn't always speak the language that we speak. And therefore, the way that we articulate, if they understand a little bit, now obviously language, music translates, but they want to spit the rounds with you. They want to recognize, they want to sing the hook. And so if you are able to clearly articulate not only your words, but your thoughts, it makes a world of difference for the listener, because we want to be heard. Like we're not just writing any old rhymes. We write some deep stuff.
And in order to write, I mean, you've got to do so much off the pen. You've got to do so much in terms of your reading, and in order to articulate, it's not something that you just...
But that articulation also translates when we're talking about, in our Cypher workshop, we use a structure.
I love
you
to
freestyle on topics. We have warm-ups, and then we go on to topics. And then what I've often done is use a Cypher. When we were here, our Cypher was about HIV awareness. So we spit on everything related to HIV awareness. But you can go to a group of hip hop artists. You talk about violence. You can talk about faith. We have a podcast called the Lyrical Meditation Cypher Podcast.
I'm
and it's all
about
it's all about mindfulness. So 1 week the theme is patience. 1 week the theme is fear. The next week the theme is food is medicine. Because unfortunately, we got GMOs and we need to pay attention, right? And so, but being able to articulate yourself on social issues, causes, universal spiritual principles, it changes people's lives.
Let me ask you this. So the traditional education of Botswana has actually somewhat forgotten elements. Like you don't get hip hop as a subject, right? And the way you guys have structured it in programming, I mean, I was that kid that failed at school. I was that kid that didn't have the confidence, and it's not because there's no intelligence. What would you say to a lot of educators that are listening to the show in terms of, the workshops, the lessons that you've learned, the milestones that you have achieved, and especially, the Jews say the number one thing that you've got to do for kids is give them confidence. Because once you get confidence, you can be a doctor, you can be in the boardroom. What would you say some of your takeaways are, and some of the things that we could bring into the classroom, into the education room? Because I would definitely I would register for your class if you had it, I wouldn't go for physics, but I'd definitely say, I want to be a part of that, because sometimes, it's an unorthodox method, but it really is impactful.
Yes. Yeah. So thank you for asking that question, because we just were able to do a workshop with some teachers yesterday.
Nice.
And that was amazing how receptive they were to the idea of putting the medicine in the applesauce. If you are not having fun as an educator, your students are not having fun.
Facts.
And so they had the opportunity to remember what it's like to enjoy learning so that they can then translate that into their classrooms. So what I would say to any educator is, if you first have fun with your subject, you will always have fun with your students, and people learn when they're enjoying themselves.
Absolutely.
They retain the information when they're having fun. Yep. If you're not a hip hop artist, rhyme works. We all use song. We all use alliteration.
Yeah,
we all
absolutely.
use, so if you don't rap, that's fine. Do a poem. Do a sing-song, rhyme thing that allows for you to remember first, and then your students will remember. And sometimes the songs that they came up with yesterday, the creativity,
fire,
and all to then take those things into their classroom and teach their students.
And Swift is, like you said, it goes back to storytelling.
Yeah,
we all tell stories each and every day.
Indeed.
Well, if you just joined us, welcome to the Stars and Stripes radio show, a special broadcast in line with public diplomacy and, of course, cultural exchange. Zeus is in the building. Zeus, allow me to bring you into this conversation. You've lived, I've known Zeus from university days before we got married. I was actually selling his CDs, his first album, freshly baked. I used to move that product, He owes me something, but hey, we're not going to get in.
I've been here for my due.
Yeah. So Zeus, look, cultural, I love this, and that's why I don't want to necessarily go scripted. I want to talk about the power of culture and from a hip hop perspective to a Setswana perspective, and bringing, because these people are my sisters. I feel the connection, the spiritual connection. How important is that? And especially from a Motswana context, learning about other people's culture and what it can do for your life every day.
Look, it's everything, man. I think especially, I love the fact that you've spoken so much from an African perspective.
Yes.
And not even just an African perspective, but a Pan-African perspective.
Yeah, absolutely.
Which is exactly what I think we've missed out on a lot in how we view our relations with the larger world. For too long, the continent was always about extracting, including the very people that today are spread around the globe that form the diaspora, you know? So it's very important to always find what are the reference points and what are the connections, and culture is central to that.
Wow.
With hip hop, something that we always talk about is how it really goes back to the drum, right?
Nice.
And if you think about where the drum comes from, it came from here. It traveled on slave ships. You know what I mean?
Wow.
And people literally on plantations kept their connections to the continent alive with that drum, and the stories and, the rhymes and the folk tales and all these things that form part of the lexicon, which today we call hip hop.
And would you say it breaks down you're American, or you're a Botswana, or you're a woman, or you're a man? Would you say, in your experience, I know you've been part and parcel of this program. You've been benefited from some U.S. initiatives. What would you say to the education element if the Minister of Education is listening? We're seeing a total shift in education globally.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
The boy child is also falling behind. We're seeing gender warfare between genders.
So much.
We are not one thing, and we're working in silos.
I'll tell you this. You know, one of the things that I find so powerful about hip hop, from an identity perspective, this might sound contradictory, and I guess that's part of the magic in it. I think it allows you to firstly see your own identity, right?
I like that.
And look at yourself and speak from your own voice. Because for you to find your voice, you know, you speak to who you are. And the most successful artists are that. I mean, if you think about, you know, whether it's an Eminem who spoke to white poverty in a way that a lot of people had never, you know, and obviously there's people who relate to that, including people who aren't white, right? The same way that you can think about, I was thinking about that Netflix successful movie, what's it called? The 40-year-old version.
Yeah.
As in the rap one,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
And if you think about, like, her whole identity gives her the chance to build something, right? But at the same time, it's what will connect you to not just, you know, those around you, but those before you, those after you. And before you, it doesn't just go back to the 80s. That's why I say, for me, it goes all the way back to poetry, spoken word in its most traditional form. Out here, we have Babuki, right?
Yes.
Moki is the original MC, you know, and if you think about what Moki does, not just Moki Elongware is out to finesse a donation from the ministers and whatever, right? You know, the new culture. But interestingly, even with that culture, it connects to an old thing, the praise poets. I get it.
Yes.
They used to sing the praises of royalty and the like, and at the same time disseminate information, you know, be used to go out and tell the public this, that, and the other, which is exactly what MCs do.
So
social commentary.
So what we're going to do on the other side of this, I think the only way to do this is to do a cipher. The only way to close the show is to do a cipher and show the people what we're talking about. Let me tell you something. You got to follow the U.S. Embassy on all social media pages. People got phones and cameras in here. I'm going to ask them to actually visually capture it, and hopefully it'll be shared on the U.S. Embassy social media pages or on Gabs FM, because you've also got to see it to believe it, you know. On the other side of this, stay tuned. We're doing a cipher. It's Gabs FM, power to engage your world.
Kasani. Power to engage your world is on 97.7.
It's Gabs FM, power to engage your world. Now we're going to do something a little bit different. I couldn't rap. I lost my confidence, so I need to go into one of your programs, right? Because
I got you. I also do rap coaching.
Yeah.
I was a rap coach for a new Disney series called The Crossover that's coming out in April.
Tony's my people, man. Tony's like my people, man. Well done. Look, in all honesty, we're proud of you, man. And real talk, I'm proud of all of you because, you know, I know what it takes to get here.
Yeah.
You must understand you guys are on the other side of the world. Yeah. I mean, some people in your hood don't even know Botswana.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Let's be real. Let's be real. And this is definitely a milestone achievement from where you're coming from, what you've gone through. I'm sure if I were to speak to all of you about your traumas and what you faced just being a woman and a person of color, you know, I'm saying on behalf of Botswana, we're mad proud of all of you, okay? And tell my sisters back at home that, you know, Swifty Swift says, you know, shout out to you. You guys are doing a phenomenal job. Now, I'm going to hand over the mic. I'm going to let Zeus come in, and these guys are going to do a cipher. I don't know what they're going to do. I don't know how they're going to do it, but that's how we're going to do it. I've got about 4 minutes left on the show, and I think that's the only way to close the show. You're on the Stars and Stripes radio show, proudly brought to you by the U.S. Embassy, America in Botswana. Talk about culture.
Okay. Joe, let's talk about culture. Let's talk about vultures. Let's talk about the people who want to take without giving. Nah, this is not how we living. This is movement. This is reciprocation. Yeah, no need to sweat it, bro. This is not L sweatshirt. Yo, I gotta rhyme like a girl cause I gotta make it work. So I pass it to my left. The DJ got the raps. Why?
The DJ got the raps and I'm about to jump in. I had to come and spit the words over again. I guess I said it twice, but it's all good and I'm never later. I'm the DJ, so I gotta play with the fader. In the right hand, you know, I keep the slip maps and I'm with my homies here, hip hop diplomats or ambassadors. Yeah, the flow is always unique. Let me try to keep the beat and I get the beat. Yeah, shout out to Zeus and my girl Tony Blackman. Yeah, she coming from the States with the action. My girl Polaris, she got all the fractions and sincerity. You know I love you, boo, and I'ma keep it going and I'm passing it to you.
Keep it going, keep it flowing. The name is Tony Blackman. Best act like you knowing why. I said I like to spit for the culture, like to raise my hand in put my fist in the air. Said yes, I do care. The black woman with the proud nappy hair. How she do that there, they wonder. Cause sometimes it be like a blunder. I'm trying to find the beat, trying to keep it real steady, but that's okay because the rhymes get heady, a little heavy, hitting you in your soul. Cause that's what culture is, and that's what's the goal. It lives inside of me from my African ancestry. Look at me when I spit, you can hear the integrity as I do what I do. The creator of the freestyle, you. I'm like a girl, Howard University grad. It's Tony Blackman. Say, don't you be mad. Said, don't you hate because I am great. I said, just surrender so you can relate.
Switching from the beatbox rapping. Here I come through, you know I'm not lacking. When I step through, you know I take action. Matter of fact, you know I'm just mapping my way through the world. Something like my name was Dora. Cause when I come through, the hip hop explorer, rhyme like a girl when I spit these bars. You know I'm 1, 2, 3, 4 super duper stars. Polaris is the name like the one North Star. Cause when I come through, you know that I go so far. It's the boogie down Bronx, that's the place that I rep. And our lag got now. We don't care who's next cause we on stages, repping on social media pages. When we come through, yo, we do this for the ages. The homie Zeus, the homie Swift, we got the US Embassy doing it like this. And anybody in the place from the projects in, we gon' do it again and again and again. Right here in Botswana, we gon' do it how we wanna. Thank you to the people who let us. I don't know.
My job.
You know,
that is culture. That is the cipher.
Thank you.
Thank you, Botswana.
And that's how we close the show, ladies and gentlemen. At the end of the day, we don't see color. We don't see anybody. We
recognize it.
We are a global generation. And, you know, I'm really mad proud of your program. Is that, look, somebody's listening and they would like to sort of adopt your program. Is there any way they can find more information? How can they do that?
Right now, we're in a transition for one, how to protect intellectual property. Because this is really important. We've been doing this innovative work for many years.
Yes, of course.
But it was so from the soul. We didn't set up the business infrastructure. We're in that process of doing that now. They can reach us on Instagram. I'm at Tony Blackman, or at Rhyme Like a Girl. Rhyme Like a Girl at gmail.com is the email address. And they can find us. They can locate us. Someone will get back to them.
Definitely.
We're really interested in building with other folks because we want to spread the gospel.
I like that.
Of the cipher and of hip hop.
Look, let me give you each your 30 seconds to do your parting statement. The girls listening, there's so many. What would you like to say in closing? And of course, just to close off the show, I'm so proud of you ladies. Shout out to you.
Well, I'm Sincerity Garcia.
Yeah.
And I just want to say thank you for having us here today. We are a family. We're a worldwide family, Rhyme Like a Girl. So I just want to thank everyone for tuning in.
Yeah.
And man,
I'm so proud.
Pull up on the Instagram.
Yeah.
Pull up on the music. We got a lot to offer. And I know Botswana has offered us so much.
Okay. And where can we get the music? Is the music available? Do you have anything available? Is it available on digital platforms?
Summertime.
Well, you know, I gotta plug myself on my radio show, so I will definitely give you an exclusive interview. My phone can call anywhere in the world, so don't worry. No matter where you are in the world, I'll call you. We do an interview, an exclusive interview when you drop that album, and definitely I'm going to make sure it plays on Gabs FM full time. Bless up, ladies. Have a fantastic evening. That's the Stars and Stripes radio show, proudly brought to you by the U.S. Embassy in partnership with Gabs FM. Ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon.
The Stars and Stripes show was brought to you by the U.S. Embassy.